Let's talk to Alphonse in New Zealand. Alphonse, you're live with Eric and V. What would you like to talk about?
Hi, am I audible?
Hi.
That's the first question I have to ask.
Oh, that's okay. It says in the notes, ex-Buddhist fundamentalist, and you want to talk about post-conversion PTSD.
Oh yes, and I think that and definition of atheism as well. I mean, there were originally 3 questions, but I think the third one you've already answered it very beautifully and very concisely.
Hello? Alphonse? Oh no.
Oh no, did we drop?
We may have lost.
Story.
Oh, there you are. Go ahead.
There you are.
Hello?
We lost you for a minute there.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, so let me tell you a bit about myself. I'm originally from Thailand, so Thai is my first language, and so English is my second language. So it's I'm really excited at the moment, and
No worries. Take your time.
I'm getting ready.
It's okay, and we can help you. So. Usually we want to dive as quickly as we can into that back and forth conversation that we can have with each other. But you said you had 2 other questions. Cool. I'm glad that we were able to answer one of them in the last call. Which one did you want to ask first?
Yep, cool.
Yeah.
It's the definition of atheism. Did you hear that bit? The definition of atheism. So my reasoning, my rationale for that question is because you see, being an ex-Buddhist, there is a kind of a debate, or rather a discussion going around the atheist community, whether you can be an atheist and a Buddhist. But you see, being a fundamentalist Buddhist at one point, because I was one, I find that atheism as it is now, which is basically a position that basically rejects the belief in a God, or basically, you're not convinced that there is a God, is not really sufficient, or not not inclusive. I think it doesn't really cut it for me, because I don't believe in the supernatural, and I think that kind of really includes everything, includes God as well, and karma and things I used to believe in. So would you agree with me that perhaps it's better to kind of redefine it as a rejection of belief in the supernatural? That's my first question.
I think that you're yes and no. I think that atheism as a rejection of a belief is good. We define our atheism as we do not believe in a God. We don't believe there is no God necessarily. So phrasing it in that way can be helpful. But also there, and this is a conversation we've had in other shows as well. Does atheism encompass things like ghosts, or fairies, or witchcraft, or anything like this? And I say no. I think that there are atheist religions. There are atheist religions that incorporate spirituality and the supernatural. And the difference we come to is atheism talks about God because theism is in the actual description. But then you come into skepticism, right? And skepticism is where we talk about other supernatural claims and just the ability to rationally look at the world and see what can we prove is real and what do we not have enough proof for yet.
Yeah, I see. So it's okay. So basically, I just call myself a skeptic. That should be sufficient, right?
Yeah. If you were a Buddhist and you didn't believe in a God, you were an atheist Buddhist. That is the definition. You were that. If now you have rejected other things in addition to that, whether that's the soul or karma or an afterlife, you can call yourself a skeptic. That is a skeptical thing to do.
Yeah. Now, linguistically, there are a couple of issues, and that is that a lot of times people use something like Buddhism, right, or a lot of people say Jewish, right? I'm a secular Jew, I'm an atheist Jew. What that is it's a great shorthand for here's the culture that I grew up in, here's a little bit about myself, so that you can kind of understand a little bit about maybe the holidays that I celebrate, or the way that my parents approached parenting, and there's just so much tied into it that it seems like great shorthand. And if it's useful to you, then go for it. But just add skeptic on top of it. say I was raised Buddhist, I'm an atheist skeptic. Perfect.
Yeah, just the because I being a Buddhist kind of has its own package of beliefs you have to subscribe to, which is something I now reject, and I believe that after doing a research on it, I come to the conclusion that there's no evidence to conclude that the claim that Buddhism has made is true, especially when it comes to the supernatural claims. So, there's that. But I mean, culturally, I totally agree because, I'm Chinese Thai as well. So we kind of pay respect to our ancestors and things like that. Of course, there's that supernatural aspect of it. But then again, I don't really subscribe to that anyway. I just do it because it's a commemoration of my ancestors' achievement and what they've done for us, etc., etc. So I can certainly live with that.
Yeah, no, exactly. And there is no part of atheism or skepticism that is incompatible with culture. You can be a skeptic and an atheist in any culture, and that you shouldn't feel like you need to choose between your culture and your heritage and being an atheist or a skeptic. Nobody is saying you have to conform to any weird non-culture in order to be a true skeptic. If you want to continue to practice some of these rituals and have these conversations and all of this, that is absolutely fine, and you can continue to do that while also maintaining skepticism.
Yeah. Okay, so it's the next one is the post-conversion PTSD.
Okay, and we'll make that our last.
As strongly. Okay. I definitely am going to be the last one because I used to believe in hell and heaven thanks to Buddhism, and I believe it so strongly that I kind of nearly got myself killed thanks to all that beliefs, and now I don't believe anymore. But it's just that you see, when I'm engaging a debate or a discussion with a believer, I tend to basically bring out the sutras that I memorized from my, kind of can manage to recall, but sometimes not entirely. So I have to open the sutras and stuff like that. When I go through it, it just kind of, I have this kind of voice in my head, kind of what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? I'll go to hell. I'll be reborn as an animal to be slaughtered, or a hungry ghost, or whatever. So I just want to know how both of you kind of have overcome that, or are you still struggling with it, or just want you guys to share your techniques and experience on that regard. It would be great.
Yeah. And this is something that we've had conversations with people quite a bit, because this is one of the biggest hurdles that people have to overcome, and it is this sense of stress and trauma, right? When you're talking about going, being, whether it's going to hell or being reborn in a body that is somehow lesser than yours, whether that's an animal or, in some beliefs it's, we come back, it's a woman. But I think that it is a thing that needs to take time. You're going to need to allow yourself some time to process this. This is not something that is, you're not failing in any way, right? This is not something where, well, come on, just buck up and deal with it. You don't believe it anymore, so clearly you can just throw it out, right? No, that's not how that works. Your brain has been wired to think in these patterns. And you need to be able to give yourself the time and the space and the therapy, if you've got it, to start undoing those thought processes.
And there's a whole lot that you can have in common with a lot of ex-Christians who still have a belief in hell, right? Who still might say, hey, I took all of these things and I totally understand, but I also still have this idea, these ideas about sex and monogamy, or these ideas about, if I sleep with too many people, then I have, some kind of lesser value, right? All of those things are internalized bits that get brought in from religion that you got to work through. But just know that you're not alone. It does take time. Sometimes it can take a lifetime, and that's okay too. I know that when I was moving out of things, and I've talked to a lot of other people who, when they're going through that trauma, you sit there and you ask yourself, gosh,
Mm-hmm.
I know I got to get over this, but it feels like it's been so long. What's wrong with me? How come everybody else is moving forward so much faster? But the thing is, there are some people who spend.
Would you say that, like, sorry, I was going to say, wouldn't you say that, like, maybe you perceive them as, you know, as like in that light, maybe, but maybe in reality they are still struggling with it in their own time, you know, like with themselves alone, and they don't really share it with anyone, because lots of people would say the same thing about me, you know, being so self-assured, and me being an extrovert. I'm very outgoing and kind of look very confident, but inside I'm like, you know, there is this moment when I'm very introspective and I think about these things, and I would have this kind of dread, and it's and you see, like, listening to this show and like kind of getting to hear different people of different faiths, or rather, like, you know atheists on different strands kind of sharing their experience.
Helps, right?
About deconversion. It's very helpful indeed. I feel like, oh well, it's not just me, and I think that, you know, me being an ex-Buddhist, kind of sharing this experience would perhaps help someone out there as well. Like, I mean, you're not alone.
Exactly. I honestly, it's the entire reason why. It's such a big reason why I felt that it's important to talk about these things the way we do. You know, it's the same reason why I want to talk about my depression, you know, and anxiety. It's the same reason why I want to talk about, or let people know that, you know, I've been a victim of sexual assault, right? You're not alone. You know, for those people who are watching, you're not alone, and it's okay. And we're still working to make our lives the best we can. But it's just, destigmatizing. But I do want to make sure that we have time for other callers. This was really nice to talk to you, and I'm glad that you're getting use out of this. I'm glad that you're watching the show. Thank you.
And I love you guys, Vi and Eric. I'm a big fan, and thank you for taking my call. And all right, have a good one.
You too. Take it easy, man.